What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Podcast. Listen up, fans of LA, Toronto, and DC, because Tony Pulis has just lost his job at Sheffield Wednesday, and you can pick him up for some TAM, but you'll have to pay extra for his hat. I'm Joss.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Jules.
And I'm Finn.
We had a great episode for you guys. I was going to introduce Finn, but it looks like he's done it for himself. So, Finn, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Hello. My name is Finn Wilson. I am junior in high school, and I know ball.
That is true. I can vouch. He does know ball.
If you're on this podcast, you can't know ball. Sorry, get out.
That's true.
Well,
we let Jacob on here every week, bro. So maybe it's like a position. Today we're going to be talking about this fan-voted U.S. men's national team 23-man roster. Let's get into it.
So, not surprisingly, Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, and Dest are all at. Everyone picked them. It's not really a big surprise there. Along with Reyna at everyone but one person, it looks like, and as well as Musa, Zach Steffen, and Reggie Cannon. And the only two iffy spots in the starting 11 are that are below 90% are John Brooks and Mark McKenzie.
I'm not sure. Sorry. I was gonna say something. I'm not sure why John Brooks is so low. I guess it's because like he's injured.
I agree.
Or whatever, probably maybe something along those
Well,
lines.
it hasn't even like a revelation for Wolfsburg this year.
He has been. It's been.
I think he's taken up a big he's gone up a couple levels since his Hertha days. Like this is the best we've seen him since he played at Hertha.
Oh yeah.
So
and he's in like what I would describe as Gold Cup. Was it 2016 John Brooks, I believe, or was it 2018?
Oh, that John Brooks. Oh, 2017, I think. Wasn't it the one we won?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I can't remember which one. He went off in one of those, and he's looking like he's back on that form right now with Wolfsburg. He has been a linchpin for that back line, and I just gotta say he's been amazing. I think that vote should be way higher for John Brooks. I'm not sure why it's so low.
No, I would agree. I think, especially judging off of our games against Wales and Panama, we saw that John Brooks was the left-sided center back, which I think every team needs. Every team, I think, needs a left-sided center back because of the angles and positioning that they can take up.
Definitely.
But it's become who is going to play alongside John Brooks, not is it going to be two different people, because I think John Brooks at this point is borderline undroppable based on how good he's done this season.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I'd say him and Dest are like the two absolute must-haves in this back line, and then I think you could maybe like rotate back and forth between Cannon and Robinson, and then like put Dest on the right when you're playing Robinson, put Dest on the left when you're playing Cannon, etc.
Oh, we're on the Robinson hype train now.
I am. I mean,
are we fully on board?
I know
I am fully on board.
I know. I know that there's a lot of people that are still kind of skeptical of Robinson, and I agree. I think there are a lot of things he needs to work on right now. Just like defensively, we've seen him kind of be vulnerable at times for Fulham along the back line this season. But I think at the moment, he seems to be probably my choice to be our second fullback at the moment. I think Reggie Cannon, who has just been, he's been very good for Boavista, right? I think that's where he's at right now. Yeah. And it's proven because he's gotten interest from Benfica, because he played very well against them too. So
as as Lille, right?
It kind of. I think it's because Lille is like the sister club of Boavista. If I'm
okay.
not wrong about, I could be wrong about that. I feel like I saw that somewhere. The point is, he's been very good. So I think really it's just a matter of who's performing up until the next roster gets announced. And at the moment, right now as it stands, Robinson has been very good for Fulham in these past few games, and I would not be surprised to see him in that starting 11 come the next U.S. roster.
I agree that he's been very good, especially against Liverpool at Craven Cottage. He was outstanding.
He was.
I will say this though: Fulham play a back five. Does that change? Does that there are left backs that can play left wing back, and there are left wing backs that can play left back. Is Anthony Robinson one of those, or is he specifically a left wing back?
That is also a very good question. I think it kind of depends because I see what you're saying. Manchester City had a very similar problem whenever we tried to play Angelino at left back because he is definitely more of a wing back. We've seen that with just how amazing he's been for RB Leipzig. I think that Anthony Robinson is kind of in a similar boat. Um, but again, I think that if he can work on those defensive vulnerabilities a little bit more, I think he can definitely play left back. But it's just a matter of the coaching at this point. And I think that Greg Berhalter's been very good with some players that are playing out of position, like Gio Reyna and Musa are playing out of position, or I guess Musa specifically played out of position, and he played very well for us in that opening or in that first game that he played for us. Uh, so I think it's just a matter of what Greg Berhalter prefers, um, and I think that I don't know what that is at the moment though. So
I
Agreed.
don't think
I agree.
anyone does.
I think even maybe a shout for why he should be fine in our outside back system is for me, whenever I watch Robinson play, it always seems like to me like he's fine at intercepting the ball. Like I'd say I agree that there's some shortcomings when he tackles, but overall, like he's a good tackler of the ball. But probably his biggest weakness to me is probably his passing. So I don't know. I feel like that might lend itself slightly better to a 4-back than to a 5-back where you maybe are sending in crosses, especially with like a more attacking and creative minded team that we have, as we can see here on the screen, where he might not have to get as forward in attacks. If he just stays back, I think it should be fine.
I think it's a pretty fair assessment of that. Reggie Cannon definitely, I'd say, is better at passing the ball. We especially saw that with Dallas. He was very good at starting those counterattacks for Dallas. But yeah, I think again, it's just really what is Greg Berhalter going to do? None of us know right now, and I don't even think he knows right now. So we're just gonna have to wait
At
and
some point,
see.
it seems like he doesn't know up until like 10 minutes before the game.
I did want to bring up just one point looking at this roster, and it's just, of course, we were talking about it before the show a little bit. There's no Josie Altidore, no Michael Bradley, none of those guys. I think it's officially that time where we're kind of past those players. We do see, Zardes and Jordan Morris and Sebastian Lletget sprinkled in there. Um, but I think it's an interesting point. Is this roster experienced enough, like internationally? That's my main question. We kind of talked about it before the show. This is a very young roster. There's definitely a lot of guys who have experience, especially Champions League experience. When you look at Tyler Adams or Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, and Reyna, even, and especially Serginho Dest. But is this roster adequate enough in terms of international experience, or do you think we need to have a guy like Josie Altidore on the roster to kind of be there to lead these guys forward a little bit?
I think that there certainly isn't the amount of senior leadership on this team yet. But the most exciting thing for me is watching this team grow together, and it's going to be absolutely crazy in the next 5 years to see them at the peak of their powers and like just being in sync with each other and everything. And I certainly think that like a leader like Altidore could help speed that process up a bit and kind of get guys in the right mindset to lead a team.
I do see the argument there. I will say this though. At some point, I think that international experience can become a bit overrated depending on the competition. I think that when it comes to Tyler Adams playing in Champions League quarterfinals, that's more experience than I think a CONCACAF game against Trinidad and Tobago.
I agree.
So what I like about this team is that there are many players on there performing at a high level, performing at high level clubs, playing in big games that we didn't have this experience before. So although we talk about experience and all this, I think that there's something to be said about there being different kinds of experience and how one prepares for a game can be similar. How one prepares for a Champions League quarterfinal can be harder than how one prepares for a Gold Cup final in some ways, I think.
I'm gonna draw on a quick analogy here. I wouldn't say we're to this level yet, but if you reflect back to 2014 in that painful game where Chris Wondolowski shoots it over the bar, and oh my god! But think about the team we are. Think about the team that we were playing that day, right? That was a Belgium team where you look at it and there wasn't actually too much international experience on that roster. And not comparing our level to Belgium necessarily, especially at the moment. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that we send a young roster out in 2022 and then we're essentially playing it away for 2026 and trying to get all those guys international experience this year.
I think that's
I
actually a very
agree.
good way of putting that. I do kind of see that similarity with the Belgian national team, though, especially considering that right now we're kind of starting to hit our golden generation the same way that Belgium did back in 2014, um, where the Kevin De Bruyne's and the Eden Hazards were starting to pop up. We're starting to get that now, where we have Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, and McKennie and Adams, and I think that, like you guys said, I think it's definitely important to have international experience, but I don't think it's necessarily essential. And I have seen a couple MLS fans arguing in the contrary, but I'm just gonna say right now I completely disagree.
All right, so we've talked pretty long about this current roster. Now I think that we should probably talk about some changes that we would make to the roster, sort of our own ideas, things like that. So, Jules, you want to kick us off?
Yes, I would love to actually. So there's a couple changes that I'd make. I'm only gonna talk about one extensively though. My first change, still personally would rather have Chris Richards over Mark McKenzie at the moment. I say at the moment because Mark McKenzie has not moved to Europe yet. So I'm probably gonna be going back on that stance once he goes off for Celtic or I believe Genk. Is that who he was linked with recently?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Genk. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I don't want to have a moment like Hank had last week with Brug, but
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's a gang.
okay,
But
gang. Okay, you know what? Good enough. Good enough. Anyways, um, but yeah, I'm not gonna say 100% that I'd rather have Chris Richards, like in a couple months. I'll probably be going back and forth between him and McKenzie in a couple months. But my main one right now is, and I know that there's a lot of people that disagree with me. I think that it's personally just a matter of who you prefer up top. I would rather be having at the moment Timothy Weah over Josh Sargent at the number 9. And I do see where a lot of U.S. fans come with saying that Josh Sargent is probably our best choice. He has, of course, when he's on form for Bremen, he has been very good for them, and he has been very good with his hold-up play up top and just creating chances even as a striker. I've seen that a lot with Josh Sargent, and it's very impressive uh, for being on a roster that was struggling last year. He has done very well this year at turning it back around, or I guess Bremen in general just have. Um, but talking about Tim Weah, he has gone off the past few games for Lille. I mean, we saw he scored. Has he scored 2 or 3 times, I believe, in the past few games for Lille, um, including a couple big goals as well. I believe he scored the winner in their 3-2 win a couple weeks ago, or he scored one of the goals in that game. Um, the point being, the Tim Way that we've been seeing for Lille, and I'll be honest, I don't watch League One. I don't, I don't know. Is that actually how you pronounce it? I don't know. It's
Pronounce
probably
it French. It's League One,
Ligue
but French.
League One.
League One.
League On.
League On.
League On.
There's not like many easy ways to watch the French league in the U.S. at the moment, and so I haven't been able to watch Lille, but I did catch a glimpse of the Europa League game. He looked like he was doing very good for Lille, and he looks like he is. I think I don't know how else to describe it, but he just seems very determined at the moment. He's got a lot of competition with Jonathan David up top, the Canadian for Lille. Uh, as well as
Does he?
just
I mean, does he?
Well, does he?
Does
Does he?
according to Lille's manager, who prefers him right now for some reason.
Is it
but
Jonathan David or is it Leal's? Yeah, is it Leal's manager that
Yeah.
he's got competition with?
that's a good point, honestly, and we could go into that some other time. But um,
Joss and I are ready to go to war on this, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Is Jonathan David overrated? I'm not saying he isn't.
we're not gonna go there. Anyways, um, the point is, Tim Weah, I think, is really thriving under that pressure right now, and he is stepping up for Lille. I think that at the moment, Tim Weah's drive is just the one thing that I would have that is like having me pick him over Josh Sargent at the moment. Tim Weah is determined at the moment, and I think that is just the number one thing that we need in a U.S. striker right now. It just seems like Josh Sargent, I think, has just some problems in front of goal. Generally, I think his finishing in front of goal just hasn't quite been there for like the striker that we need at the moment. And I'm not saying that Tim Weah is like 100% the solution to that, but I think at the moment, if you're having me choose between a guy to score a crucial goal in the 90th minute for the U.S. in a World Cup qualifying group, I'd pick Tim Weah over Josh Sargent.
Intriguing. Let me ask you this, Jules. Let's go to a separate universe for a second, where Werder Bremen are relegated from the Bundesliga, right? They're in the Bundesliga too, and Josh Sargent, he steps up immaculately, right? And so let's say that at this current time period, Josh Sargent is on 12 goals in the Bundesliga too. Would that change your opinion of whether he should be starting up top?
It's kind of hard to go there without like comparing the quality of the leagues a little bit. Of course, the Bundesliga too. No knocking on that league because there have been some like shocks in that league, honestly, in the past couple of years. Like I wouldn't have predicted Bielefeld to have gone up this in the recent season. And in Hamburg have been down there for a couple of years now. I thought they would have been back up by now. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. You do have to compare the quality of the leagues. And of course, Tim Weah, he is on a very, I'd say a Lille team that has had just, I don't even want to say like a surgence because it's almost like they've been rejuvenated back to like the days when they were producing Eden Hazards and just like all these players that would eventually go on to perform in the Premier League and at bigger teams. They are a team that I would want to have my youth U.S. men's national team player performing at right now. And I think that's another thing that so many people were excited with Reggie Cannon is because Boa Vista is, in some way, I believe, a partner club with Lille. And so I think Reggie Cannon there would be amazing. But the point is, Lille is such a great youth development team, and I would love for any player to be there. And I think Tim Weah being there is just even bigger. But then again, you do also have to factor in, is Josh Sargent, is he not just scoring goals? Is he also leading this team up top? Is he leading this team forward trying to get themselves back into the Bundesliga? I think if he is technically in the hypothetical that we're talking about, then I would have Josh Sargent up top because we need that leader pushing the front line right now. But at the moment, I think Tim Weah just barely inches him out.
Okay. All right. Cool. I like that. Finn, you wanna go next and tell us what you think about this? What changes you would make?
Okay, so this might be a bit of a crazy move, but instead of Lord Zardes, I would replace him with Conrad de la Fuente. That he's getting some not a whole lot of minutes at Barcelona, but he's still getting first team minutes at Barcelona. And especially that connection with Sergino Dest that we've seen in some games. It's really that's going to be a very interesting connection to watch develop throughout the years on the international team and as well as in Barcelona. And he's shown very good signs of promise that and he'd definitely be a more interesting option off the bench instead of Giovanni Zardes, in my opinion.
Do you think he provides something that Zardes does not?
Yes, he sort of has that the it factor, I guess. He's like the Zardes. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at the fact that you called him Giovanni Zardes.
Yeah, I can't get over that. I didn't know who was going to say something about that.
I feel like that added chemistry between him and Dest definitely is a factor that we need to look at, and then Zardes is just another dude from MLS, really. He plays in MLS where he gets a lot of touches and scores goals for the Crew, but he's not it. He's not the solution, the long-term solution.
He's not Jacob Peterson, the answer.
Dang it!
I do see what you're saying, Finn, and I agree to an extent. I do think that having a guy like Conrad on the team does kind of bring, like you said, the it factor almost. I think he's in a he's in a Barcelona squad that's kind of in an odd place right now, and he's not exactly being given the playing time, but he's still on a roster that's very competitive right now, is what I'm trying to say. Um, but I do think that I do think that Zardes, at the very least, I'm gonna get absolutely thrashed for this, and
Oh no.
he deserves a shout. Okay, I think that he's the top scoring U.S. striker currently or in MLS, or he was this past year, and he has consistently been up there amongst the U.S. strikers performing in the U.S. for the past couple of years. I'm not saying that he deserves to be our striker starting at the moment. I think he should be the last guy on that list, honestly, because if I said that, a lot of people would kill me. But and I agree that he, with the U.S. men's national team, has not exactly performed greatly. I definitely agree, but he's not exactly supposed to be a starter at the moment. I think, or at least in my opinion, I think that on this roster nobody has him as a starter. I think they have him more as a guy who comes off the bench and tries to knock one in maybe late on for the U.S. men's national team. And so I think just factoring all that in, I think that Zardes, he couldn't be the worst choice in the world, is what I'm trying to say. I'd rather have him than maybe I can't even think of anybody like Chris Wondolowski. I'd rather have Giassi Zardes than Chris Wondolowski.
I think anyone would.
Yeah, I think anybody would right now. But my point is, I think Zardes. I think looking at it as like Zardes being an option off the bench, I think personally I wouldn't mind him being on the roster in that sense.
You mentioned this thing called the it factor, which, by the way, now this is nothing personal against you. And in fact, I talked to about Joss this the other week, and I called him out on using these terminologies, which I should probably not repeat the name I used. Regardless, if you want to hear that, go
I said it on purpose. It was irony.
Going back to our last episode, Giassi Zardes is the dude that finds a way to score a goal when you really need one in the most unique fashions ever. This includes getting the ball kicked into his face off of a clearance. And so I actually agree with Jules on this one. As much as I think it is a little bit more controversial, I think Conrad de la Fuente, I think we have to be really careful with names, especially like his. Just because they're on a Barcelona roster does not mean that they're quite to the level that we're ready for it quite yet.
I just can't stand for this Wondolowski slander, man. Super sub Wondolowski.
Dude.
I know he missed against Belgium. I know.
The only game that has ever mattered for us, by the way.
But he's gone on.
Jules editing this. Throw up the meme.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? I love the young people.
I'm just saying, man. A Wondolowski he gets it done. That's all I'm saying. One miss shouldn't tarnish his entire 160 plus goals he scored in MLS, I think. If we're talking about scores in MLS, Chris Wondolowski is at the top of that list.
Was at the top of that list.
He's a top scorer in what?
Oh, you're referring to literal numbers. Yeah, we're talking about like actually like if you want to go get a goal.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if we were talking about scores in MLS, like Giassi Zardes, that you cannot ignore that Wondolowski is the forever top scorer in MLS.
But is his form currently there to be on this?
The fact he's still managed to score, I think it was like 8 or 9 goals.
Dude, you are not making Joss. You are not making an argument for this man to be on this roster. I'm going to literally.
I was not okay with the tarnishing of his name. I was not okay with the tarnishing of his name in terms of bigging up Zardes.
Okay, that's fair. I was about to say, if this man's about to pull a Jacob from a few episodes ago, then I'm not going to be here for this.
Okay, by the way, pulling a Jacob is being right. This is not right because I told you that FC Cincinnati was getting through and nobody believed me, and look what happened. Thank you very much, Jules, for bringing that up again. Jacob Bailey masterclass yet again.
This guy sucks. So hard.
I'm the absolute worst.
This guy sucks so hard. But I'm telling you, man, I'm saying that in an alternate universe, I would not be against Chris Wondolowski being on a United States men's national team roster. I would not be
This
against
year,
it because
this year,
he is a super
this
sub.
year, you are.
That's what he does. You don't start him.
joking.
You play
No,
for 20
no.
minutes. You play for
No.
20 minutes, you get a goal. I guarantee it.
I cannot
John-
believe those words just came out of your mouth, dude.
No. Watch this space for next season because apparently he's not retiring. Watch this space. I guarantee you, he will score. He will score goals.
Hank is gonna like rise from the grave, and destroy you, Joss.
Don't care, bro. I'm on the Wando propaganda. I'll say it, dude. He is a good MLS striker.
Josh, what drugs are you on?
You
Which
guys
one?
don't want to see me succeed. You guys want to see me succeed, but I'm right. And as sooner that you guys see the light, like I have, as soon as you guys turn to Wondolowski religion, it's over. You become enlightened.
Dude,
I honestly feel bad for anyone listening to this right now. Oh.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't get it. The guy had 15 goals in 2019. That's crazy. Are you kidding me? That's
We
so
kicked
good.
this man off already.
That's so good. Imagine that, dude. I'm saying that I'm a fan of what Wondolowski does. I'm a fan of bringing him off the bench in the last 20 minutes and just throwing him in the box if we need a goal. Because his movement, he's literally been quoted. I think it was John Terry that said Wondolowski's movement was untouchable. John Terry. What? You think that he can't do it against Guyana? This is John Terry.
that's also John Terry like 7 or 8 years ago, probably. I don't really know.
I was gonna say John Terry's retired.
Movement is
bro.
not something that you can just. Movement isn't something you lose. You see it with Zlatan. You see it with strikers like Zlatan. You see it with Wondolowski. You see it with Lewandowski. That's not something that you lose with age. And Chris Wondolowski hasn't lost it with age. So I'm saying that if it came to it, if Wondolowski showed up on a roster as a super sub, I'd be like, that makes sense. I get it.
You know, I'm not the one you've got to convince. That's all I'm saying.
All right. After that healthy discourse where Joss was right, I think that we should move on to Jacob. Jacob, what do you say?
First of all, that's utterly ridiculous that you said you were right again. Second of all, when I'm looking through this, and I might need help finding somebody to eliminate here from this bench, but I think there is one person who is, or a couple of people that might be overlooked from MLS who I think could deserve a shout. One person who I really like because I think he kind of brings in that a little bit of the experience that we were talking about, not too much, but I mean a little bit, would be the likes of Kyle Walker-Zimmerman, who had a pretty good year this year with Nashville.
Kyle Walker
Kyle
Zimmerman.
Walker.
Wait, what did I just say?
He said Kyle Walker Zimmerman.
That's hysterical. No, yeah, Walker-Zimmerman from Nashville. And so, I don't know, for me, he brings a little bit of experience, especially in a back line that is relatively young. And so I feel like depending on like how the tournaments are going or how the tournament could be potentially going at the time, I think he could be a really strong foundational player there for us at the back.
You know, I actually agree with that. Walker
I'm in
Zimmerman,
agreement.
he is, of course, the MLS Defender of the Year. I think that is a very important thing to bring up. And it's also like, of course, Iko Para won it twice, and we saw how that went. He got what, like one call up where he played like 80 minutes or something like that, which was just a tragedy on Greg Berhalter's behalf. But anyways,
Was he called
Walker's-
up under Berhalter?
he was called up once. Or wait, no, it wasn't under
Yeah.
Berhalter. It was
Was it
whoever.
Arena?
No, the guy who was after Arena, who I always forget his name. He was the interim. He was the interim after Arena. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna
Anyways,
say it's Gus Hiddink because he's always the interim in Premier League at the Premier League club. So we'll say it's Gus Hiddink.
sorry. Okay. Anyways. The point is, Walker Zimmerman has, I think, been like the highlight of Nashville this season. He has directed that back line so well, and it is a pretty iffy back line. You take Walker Zimmerman out of that Nashville roster, they don't even get into the playoffs, in my opinion, this year. I think he was that crucial to them. Just imagine what he could do for the U.S. men's national team on that roster.
Let alone knock off Toronto, by the way, in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think he was probably arguably their most crucial player in that Toronto game as well. Just considering how well they shut out MLS MVP Alejandro Pozuelo, as well as the attack that is Toronto. they did extremely well, and I think that Walker Zimmerman deserves a shout for that roster. I agree with you, Jacob, 100%.
The other thing about that is he's going to be 28, 29 by the time he enters into that roster for the World Cup. So he's going to be hitting his prime as well, alongside John Brooks actually at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
I agree, and I also just want to see him hit that, that walk celebration he does after he scores, where he puts his hand, he throws his arms up in the air and he walks funny. I just want to see him hit that against I want to see him hit that against a small
England,
Caribbean island nation. No, a Caribbean island nation. We're 5-0 up. Just imagine, bro.
That is so much disrespect, John.
Now I'm trying to think about who I would drop for him, because obviously I feel like I should go for a like player. And so that obviously brings up Matt Miazga. But Matt Miazga always seems to play well for the U.S., so that was a little tough. What do you guys think?
I think it is a very tough call. I think so many U.S. fans are going to be mad if you kick off one of the European guys at the moment because, European good, MLS bad. But I think it is a tough call. And like you said, Matt Miazga performs for the U.S. When he's on his day for the U.S., he is probably one of our most crucial defenders.
Yeah, Matt Miazga is just the Jordan Pickford of the United States. He just always performs on an international level. It just always happens.
I would agree with you guys up until these previous internationals, because I don't think he was that great for us against Wales or Panama. So, and these were teams that weren't at full strength. Obviously, Panama just isn't very good in general. I know I'm saying that, and they made the World Cup and we didn't. But yeah, I know that.
Sorry,
but then that was a Wales without Bale too, and he wasn't that great. So
he did have a pretty rough year. He was not exactly. He didn't play that much for Reading, I don't think. And when he did, he was not playing very well. And that Reading team was pretty to be honest. But he's kind of started to pull it back around with Anderlecht. We suck at pronouncing Belgian teams, man. Oh my god. But
what do you mean we? Are we French now, bro? You suck at pronouncing Belgian teams.
Okay. We need to go back to Club Brugge, Hank, bro. Anyways, with Anderlecht, he has been he's been decent. He's not been amazing. I'm not going to say he's been the guy that absolutely 100% should be starting by Brooks. But I think eliminating him from this roster is a tough choice. I personally, and I'm going to get so much shit for this, I would rather have Zimmerman and Miazga over Mark McKenzie at the moment. And again, like I said, that's at the moment. Because I said it before earlier with Chris Richards, I think Mark McKenzie is not quite ready for the U.S. men's national team. And that's not to say Chris Richards is 100% ready for it either. But I think that at the moment, Mark McKenzie should wait, I think, just a little bit longer. He maybe should play a couple of those qualification games against a couple of the smaller teams. But Walker Zimmerman's leadership is undeniable, and I think that we need a player like him on that roster. And it's a tough choice between Miazga and McKenzie, but I think I'd rather have Miazga and Zimmerman at the moment.
I agree. When I'm looking at this roster right now, I don't see a true leader popping out of this group. But once you insert Walker Zimmerman into this, it's you have your guy. We have our guy in him that we know will take charge and lead the team and hold guys accountable for their mistakes.
Yeah, I like Walker Zimmerman a lot. I like him. I think he's a great player. He's a great center back. He's a great defender. He looks insane. He looks like he would lead his troops into battle in the Civil War. The dude just he's built like a brick house. I will say this though, we're talking about Matt Miazga and MLS center backs. I think that we also would need to mention another Red Bulls center back, Aaron Long. Do you throw him in? Because I think out of all of the center backs in the U.S. men's national team pool, he performs the best in men's national team shirt.
It's really a matter, again, and I'm gonna say the same thing that I've said 3 times already. It's a matter of what Greg Berhalter's feeling, honestly. And again, like we said, he doesn't even know what he's feeling up until the day before he announces a roster. I'm sure that you can make an argument either way, honestly. I personally would rather Walker Zimmerman at the moment, just seeing how the Red Bulls just really didn't exactly have the season that they probably should have. And of course, that's also accounting for the fact that they lost one of the best strikers in MLS history and didn't even try to replace him. But yeah, Aaron Long is probably the one thing keeping the Red Bulls together right now, so I think you could make an argument for him. But I personally would rather have Walker Zimmerman, just personally.
I don't know, man. What about the mullet? The Aaron Long mullet? Does that change your opinion?
It does, actually. We need another mullet. I mean, we saw how it worked for Benny Feilhaber, so we should...
Exactly.
We need
Oh,
the
And
mullet.
I know Jacob's on the Aaron Long hype train because he keeps using his foot card against me, so...
Hey, dude, let's not bring FIFA into this.
I just know that Jacob's up there with the Aaron Long believers because Iko Parr and Aaron Long make up his center back in foot. So I'm just putting that out there. All right. So Jacob, do you have any more? Is that your main one? Was Walker Zimmerman?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you should probably start Owen Otasoe if I'm being honest. But I mean, outside of that,
There. Yeah. Okay. We're moving on.
Yeah.
So I think no, but in all honesty, Owen Otasoe has really stepped up these past few games for Wolves. He's kind of found his own. Jules, if you can find the clip of him breaking Harry Kane, put it in here now.
Either that or him. Who did he absolutely snap in half? Was it Højbjerg? Maybe, I don't remember. In all honesty, obviously Otasoe does not deserve to be, in the starting lineup. But I do think that he is a promising player for the future.
All right, cool. So I guess we're down to me, and I was going to say Matt Turner for Zach Steffen because he'd be funny, but I think my Wondolowski sort of rant has kind of covered my controversy for the episode. So instead, I'm going to say Tim Melia should be on this roster. If this is
Every sporting
a
fan just
World
stood
Cup
up and
game,
applauded.
if this is a World Cup game, a World Cup elimination game, and it goes to penalties, there is no better keeper at saving penalties in the pool than Tim Melia. That's factual. I won't hear any different. That is
in the world, by the way.
Honestly, no, he is probably one of the best penalty kick savers, not just in MLS, in general at the moment.
You're probably right.
His
Tim Melia,
his stats are unreal. His stats are
they're
unreal.
insane, and only he knows how he does it. So he keeps it secret, and I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that secrecy. So Tim Melia, obviously we're Sporting KC fans, so we're a little bit biased, but I think that the bias is sort of warranted in a way. He's coming off a penalty shootout against San Jose in the MLS playoff, where he saved all 3 penalties. Now that's never happened before. That hasn't happened in American soccer history, except for one other time.
Wait.
Except for one other time.
And that one other time.
When the Charleston Battery knocked out the Chicago Fire 3-0 on penalties, and you know who was in net then? Tim Melia.
Timmy Melia.
So I'm saying that we take this Netherlands approach where they bring Tim Krul along, and he doesn't play that often, but when he does, when they do throw him in, it's to save penalties, and it worked for them against Costa Rica, and I could see it. I would not be opposed to us doing that for Tim Melia in a World Cup elimination game.
Definitely. I think a lot of people have that same shout, but for Matt Turner at the moment, I'm sorry. You can't even say that there's any goalkeeper in the U.S. pool that's better at penalty kicks than Tim Melia. You cannot convince me. He's better than any keeper in U.S. history at saving penalties. The stats back it up, man. You can't even convince me otherwise.
No, yeah, and I'm inclined to agree. I don't know what it is, man. He's just super. He's not even that tall. He's not even that tall for a goalkeeper, and he just pulls out miraculous penalty saves. Like, as a Sporting fan, whenever we can see the penalty, I'm not filled with this existential dread because I'm like, wait, we have Tim Melia in net.
He'll save it, man.
Exactly. I've been at games where he's made saves, and it was like, nice.
Yeah, every time we go into a penalty shootout, I'm like, I'm not worried about this in the slightest. It's like, I know the end. I know what's happening here.
Yeah, agreed. I think he was in 2 penalty shootouts this year, and he won both of them. The dude is a freak of nature when it comes to penalties. It's like he turns up to a whole other level. So I would not be opposed to bringing him along to or is it Qatar? Is it in Qatar? Is it still in Qatar?
Yes, for now, but there's
I think it's still in Qatar.
yeah, unfortunately, but that we could talk about that another time.
So I wouldn't be opposed to him coming along and maybe having to save our ass if it's needed.
I will say, 2014, Nick Raimondo was on Bruce Arena's roster, and Nick Raimondo is, before Tim Melia came along, was the best penalty kick saver in MLS history. All I'm saying, you throw Tim Melia on this roster, we get into a shootout in the playoffs, or not in the sorry, in the elimination. I got MLS playoffs on the mind still, but we get in a shootout. You get in a shootout in the knockout rounds. Tim Melia saves the penalty kicks against whoever. Doesn't even matter. I guarantee that. Need him on the roster. Even if he doesn't play, we need him on that roster.
Agreed. It's a good backup plan. It's a good wild card to have, And I guarantee you that these teams that we'd be facing, they haven't heard of Tim Melia. They don't know about his penalty saving prowess. So it's a good joker card to throw in there. But I don't know, that's not that controversial, I don't think, like Jules said. So
it's what they get for ignoring
I think
the
I throw
biggest
him in.
league.
I think I throw him in for Horvath, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the beginning of the Champions League, I think we were all kind of hyping up Ethan Horvath because he had that game where he had a howler and then he managed to bring it all back for Bruges.
Brugge.
The God damn it, dude. The point is, Ethan Horvath is kind of a bit of an iffy choice. I think it's a 50-50 what you get with him. He either has like a 10 out of 10 game or he just doesn't show up at all. Now, of course, it's also like he's probably not going to play at all. I mean, Zach Steffen is a keeper that can play game in, game out. And Matt Turner is probably the second best keeper in the pool at the moment. So he probably doesn't play much at all, but I think I'd rather have Tim Mealy on that roster than Ethan Horvath. I agree with you, Joss.
So, just like we would throw Tim Mealy in at the end of games to save our bacon, we've reached the end of the Designated Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Shout out to Jules for the editing, because the dude is a mastermind on the computer. I don't know how he does it, but the dude knocks it out of the park every time. So make sure to like and subscribe and follow our Twitter at DesignatedCast. We really do appreciate the following and the listening. So I've been Joss.
This has been Jacob.
This has been Jules.
And this has been Finn.
And we will catch you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.